crypto falls, Bitcoin around 20%, Cardano follows around 30%. The question I'm asking myself, will it continue? What is up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Cow Venture. Hit the subscribe and like on the way in. Let's jump into the video. And before I start even the technical analysis, I have to just talk about Coco Loco very briefly. I want to be open with y'all. There's not a ton to it other than the fact that, as you know, going into just launching the Coco Loco NFT collection, I was extremely excited, and I really was. I'm so excited about building and launching things with Cardano blockchain. It's all so new to us. So I was excited and extremely excited. When we launched and even kind of going into it, but and after, the excitement, the hype around it completely threw me off guard. It completely took me off guard. I felt overwhelmed. I felt overextended with so much other things going on in life. And I was already feeling overextended. And I was just like, I need to keep this at one collection. This needs to be one collection. And plans changed. And my thing is, the collection is out there. And that hasn't changed. And it's in the community's hands. And I think it's the coolest place to be. It's just out there in the community's hands. It's a collection that hasn't changed at all. And I'm excited about that. But that's it, everyone. Like that's the story. And I just wanted to briefly mention that because I know there's a lot of people asking. Obviously I was away for a little bit, but also just taking some just mental health days. I needed it anyway. And I do though. I wanna continue covering content for all of you. This is something I've really enjoyed doing over like almost 4 years now, and I want to continue doing that. And I just wanted to briefly mention that. So I want to jump into the video now. We're 2 minutes in, so let's do it. It's Bitcoin. We have to start on Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin on the daily. It's a big dip, right? When it's happening, you feel it, especially when we're at the bottom of this wick. We feel it. Look at Bitcoin hitting the 50-day moving average. The reason I have to mention Bitcoin, especially in this video, and I know I haven't covered it every day, Bitcoin is so important right now. Cardano, any altcoin that you have right now. Because in the general scheme of things, on the macro, Bitcoin really does dictate like the macro theme of bull markets, bear markets. And that's why we always have to be prepared for Bitcoin and what it's doing. So if you remember, as we covered Bitcoin all-time high, tanking below the 20-week moving average, my whole thing was, we can't call this the entry to the bear market. I really wanted to see Bitcoin test the 20-week moving average again to the upside right here. And it did that. It did the same thing back here, the 20-week moving average being tested, but then falling to the downside into the bear market. I wanted to see some confirmation there, and I think a lot of people did. But what we didn't see, what we didn't see was that happen, right? We saw Bitcoin actually take off through the 20-week moving average. So now we're in this like next step of, will this bull market truly continue? We've kind of overcome that resistance at the 20-week, but now it's, will we see support? And that's kind of what's happening right now this week. The maybe answer to that question. So the 20-week moving average, Bitcoin, I mean, literally was like 2% above that area in this weekly wick. And again, there's 5 days, 8 hours left of this weekly candle. So while it's a nice weekly wick, at the very least, it's still red, but just you could see some buying pressure. That's good. It doesn't mean that there can't be some downtrend, right? This happens. We saw a weekly wick all the way down into the 50-week moving average, and this was this was really that swing low into that $29,000 area in June, and it was just a really nice weekly candle. Look at that buying pressure, but look, Bitcoin still continued to trickle down. We have to be careful right now in watching Bitcoin, because it can, maybe we even end up a green candle. It can still trickle down. We want to be mindful of the 20-week moving average at the end of the day, $42,000. And that's something I'm watching on Bitcoin. If we're looking at Bitcoin, one thing I want to just note on the momentum oscillator is this. If you remember when we had talks of Bitcoin entering potentially what it would look like to enter a bear market, we talked about the momentum oscillator entering the last bear market in 2017 into 2018, right? or I should say 2000, yeah, the end of 2017 into 2018, we talked about just this general vicinity and Bitcoin just grappling with it and then falling below it. Now, Bitcoin recently grappling with it. It didn't fall below it, it actually popped above it. So, what we want to see is just this continued momentum. Right now, on the weekly, this is a slower moving momentum oscillator. There's a ton of bullish momentum that is up for grabs for Bitcoin. The bulls can do this. This bull market could continue. We're getting a higher low. This could go lower, but right now it's a higher low. Bitcoin can, make us be patient for the next like leg up for Bitcoin. So we want to keep an eye on that, but at the very least, Bitcoin did kind of make a move to the upside as opposed to what we didn't want to see, which was to the downside, or really even just sideways, because that's essentially what Bitcoin did last time. It consolidated very sideways before just falling and tanking to the bear market low. So good move for Bitcoin on the weekly. It's a weekly red candle. It happens. You zoom out on a weekly chart, bull markets, bear markets, weekly candles happen, but it's very important for any crypto that you're holding. Now we talk about Cardano. Cardano on the weekly chart. This is what we're looking at. Um, this is something we've been mindful of, and it is this momentum on the RSI. We had this dollar plus swing high on the slower moving momentum oscillator in February, and that is right here. We had a lower high at the $2.50 all-time high, and it was a lower high on the momentum oscillator. Kind of some bearish divergence on the macro. And now, everyone, we have another lower high at another all-time high. So it's certainly bearish divergence here. And what we've talked about recently in regards to this lower high is we do want to see Cardano make a pop to the upside. And now, even with this lower high kind of in place now that we've kind of come down on the weekly oscillator, we want to see Cardano break above this, and ultimately, with the continuation of a bull market for all of cryptos, break above this, right? And that would be an environment where we see Cardano really making moves and hitting all-time highs again, and just maybe crypto in general, just finalizing the bull market at the end of the day. It's what we all would want to see, but again, we can never know what's going to happen. I'm not sitting here giving financial advice. I never do. In fact, usually I'm just more mindful of dips, more mindful of downsides, and more mindful of resistance areas. So, speaking of resistance, we pivot to the daily chart. If you remember, Cardano, let me get rid of this. Cardano broke out of that descending triangle that we talked about, right? And we basically were talking about this $2.90 to $3 area target. And not surprisingly, you can just see Cardano consolidated in that area, kind of this upward momentum type of consolidation, and we tanked to the downside. That's how it played out. But it's no surprise that the 290 to $3 area was resistance. Not only to mention that the $3 area it's $3 Cardano. I mean, that's just a mental thing. It's a mental resistance area confluent with the technical resistance, which is the breakout target right around the 290 to $3 area. So resistance at that area made sense. The consolidation we were seeing made sense. Now the dip, it makes sense. We have to keep in mind Cardano and altcoins, they really do. They move with Bitcoin in the macro scheme of things. And oftentimes, most times, it seems, they're more volatile. So Cardano in this case, what do we say? Around a 30% dip, probably just above a 30% dip, I believe it was, happened very quickly. And Bitcoin around 20% or so, maybe even 18 or 19%. So the good thing for Cardano on the daily chart, Cardano hitting this 50-day moving average, it's what we want to see in uptrends. We wanted to see, and we talked about just if we can get this bounce off the 20-day moving average, kind of a very similar move that might have happened back here in February, leading into Mary hard fork in March. Remember, we talked about that happening. We didn't get it, and it's okay. History does not always repeat itself exactly, but obviously we're 5 days away from smart contracts. So it's going to be very, very interesting. This is what I'm watching. Like, how is this green box that we've been tracking, and this is what it looks like on the weekly chart? It played out really cool. We got the gains for Shelly hard fork. We got the gains for Mary hard fork. And now going into Alonzo hard fork, we got the gains. We're just in a red weekly candle 5 days before the Alonzo hard fork and smart contracts. It's going to be crazy to see what happens next. Like, it's a very exciting time that is happening right now in crypto. and Cardano especially. And yeah, there's been recent negativity surrounding Cardano with the concurrency issue and all that stuff, but there's always negativity. There's always people that just want to see Cardano fail. It is what it is because that's kind of how crypto markets are. If it's not, some people are just like, if it's not their altcoin, they want to see every altcoin fail. If it's not Bitcoin, they want to see every altcoin fail. It's fine. Cardano, I think on the macro is looking just so strong, even still. But it all comes back to bear markets, bull markets. Always be prepared, everybody. We talk about this. Have your plan. Everybody's plan is different. My plan is different than yours. What that looks like for you, I can't sit back and tell you, but have a plan. Be prepared for every scenario. This is why we always talk about potential 30%, 20% dips because they happen even more, right? 40% dips happen. So be prepared for continued downside. Cardano is still hovering above that 20-week moving average, probably a little bit more than Bitcoin, I would imagine. We can see Cardano right now from where it is, even after that bounce, 30% overextended from the 20-week moving average. And if we look at Bitcoin real quick, Bitcoin right now overextended around 8% or so. So Cardano is still looking decent on the macro charts. It's a bit of a dip, but remember, zoom out, they happen. Lastly, I do want to mention just this Fibonacci support. You can just kind of see it here. We had this swing low. It was kind of a few days dip leading into like around $1.86 or something. And then Cardano took off through $2, hit $3, and then we have a swing high. And you can just see Cardano bounces off the 50-day moving average and actually wicks right through the 618, a 237, I guess 230, yeah, 235 to the 786 around 214, wicks above that area, and we're seeing support above that area right now. That's a support area. So really cool to see the wick on this daily chart for Cardano on this candle. However, it doesn't mean that the buying pressure is just going to continue to remain there. If buying pressure fails and this dip doesn't, or this bounce doesn't continue to the upside, there's certainly a case for Cardano to just test this 50-day moving average in general down in that $2 range. So be prepared for stuff like that. Always have a plan, and that's kind of it, everybody. So let's see what happens. 5 days away from smart contracts for Cardano. Awesome to see. Track Bitcoin. Let's see what happens with Bitcoin above the 50-day moving average, and also again this 20-week moving average around $42,000. Very important for Bitcoin. So we'll continue to monitor it. We'll continue to track it. Appreciate all of you out there. I really do. Thank you so much. Hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Hit that like button. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.